Thanks for staying with us. This is Newsline. I'm Michael Chugani. Two of my good friends here, longtime journalists, Francis Moriarty and Chris Yeung. Chris is with Hong Kong Economic Journal. He's the news director, and Francis Moriarty is senior political reporter with RTHK. Now, you know, I want to come back to this this issue of people, whether people are happy in Hong Kong, whether they're dissatisfied. You say economically they are not that bad. Governance-wise, they are not very satisfied. Francis, one of the things that I noticed that people are not very satisfied about, and you know, Henry Tang made this point last week on this show when I asked him about mainland mothers having babies here. You know, so many mainlanders in Hong Kong, they're buying up iPhones, milk powder, hospital beds, the whole works, and people are not very happy about that.
You're explaining why some people here don't see themselves as Hong Kong Chinese and don't have a closer relationship with the mainland.
Exactly. Yeah. So is there animosity? Because Henry Tang said last week he said he was worried that there is growing animosity towards mainlanders.
I think there is, and it's a mixed feeling. On one hand, everybody knows that the money being spent by mainlanders here and being invested here has done a great deal to prop up the economy and the IPOs, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody realizes that Hong Kong has benefited to some degree from all of that money flowing in. At the same time, I think Hong Kong people are very proud people, and maybe sometimes in the eyes of mainlanders in the past, excessively so. And it's the
tables have turned.
Tables have turned, and some people feel their noses are being rubbed in it, and they also don't like the idea that people can come here from someplace else and gain advantages that locals
in fact, I wrote a column exactly about that last week.
Yeah, but there's also some double standards here. You could, if you come here from the Philippines, you don't have the same rights as other people who are here. If you come here from the United States, you can maybe get some benefits other people don't get. So there's a lot of discrepancies and disparities, which I think over time will have to be ironed out. But I think it's kind of hard for Hong Kong people to have it both ways. Welcome the money, but not want the people.
Just the money, not the people.
And we translate into that political terms. Here we have a selection process. Let's not really call it an election because it's a selection process.
Sure, it's a selection
That's happening with the election committee for the chief executive. But the real determination who the next chief executive will be is made in Beijing.
Sure.
We know that. That's a Beijing appointment at the end of the day. And the politics there are a bit uncertain as well. I mean, 2012 is an interesting year. You've got elections, major elections all over the world. You've got elections in the United States, France,
we have
Russia.
Here.
The first big election of 2012 just happened in Taiwan. Right? We're going to have an election here.
And a leadership change in China.
Exactly. And what I'm saying is that the leadership change in China is linked to the process in Hong Kong. We don't know how all of that works. But clearly there are factions. There are factions in Beijing, and they have their representatives in Hong Kong. So factional issues have to be sorted out and power allocated in Beijing as part of the change process. And this decision comes in advance of the decision of who and the announcement of who will be the leader in Beijing. So this has to be part of a total package, and that operates in some way to which we are simply not, you know.
Chris, that's a big issue that Francis raised about the decision about who's going to be the next CE is actually not made here. It's made in Beijing, and there are big changes in Beijing, leadership changes as well. I want to bring it back to whether there's animosity towards mainlanders in Hong Kong, and Francis mentioned the thing about Hong Kong people identifying themselves as Hong Kongers more than as mainland Chinese or as Chinese, right? You are a Chinese person. You grew up in Hong Kong. I've known you for many, many years. Do you see yourself as a Chinese or a mainland Chinese or a Hong Konger?
Well, I'm a Hong Kong Chinese. No question about that. And of course, the Chinese are bigger set, and then Hong Kong Chinese. Just like if I was born in Shanghai, I would say I'm a Shanghai Chinese. And to me, it's not a big.
But why did the mainland officials in Hong Kong make it such a big issue?
Well, I think mainland officials.
I'm a New Yorker. I'm from, San Francisco or whatever. Right? This is not a big deal, right?
I think it's a contradictory mentality. I think on one hand they accept one country, two systems that allows Hong Kong to maintain and actually further develop its uniqueness its system, culture, and practices. On the other hand, they think that Hong Kong should become more Chinese, at least a more understanding about the Chinese system, the leadership,
and less open to foreign influence.
Yes.
That's really. That's really a core.
More Chinese, perhaps. The hidden message is that less.
But somebody was telling me
criticism of the U.S. Consul General in Hong Kong,
right.
and influencing involvement of foreign, affairs. It's clear that the Obama administration has announced we're back. It's had its review in the Pentagon, and it's made clear that while it's cutting money elsewhere, it's not cutting a penny for the Asia Pacific. I mean, the message is the announcement of a new economic partnership program that will cover this region involving the United States. China has to look at that. Taiwan, President Ma mentioned it at every opportunity. For him, he sees this as a great opportunity for Taiwan to become involved. So I think Beijing, in some ways, looking around, may feel a little bit encircled. And at the same time, it's, of course, as we know, hiring a lot of our colleagues in Washington D.C. and New York and giving them jobs on CCTV.
But you said
as well as some colleagues from Hong Kong.
I know. You said foreign influence in Hong Kong. That's one of the things. Somebody said to me, Chris, just a few days back, we have 28 or so million mainland visitors coming to Hong Kong every year now. That's a staggering number.
It's 28 million visits rather than 28 million visitors.
Oh, visits, whatever. But they're here,
going back and forth,
So if you look at the streets now, it's all packed and so on. Somebody's saying to me that China will not restrict the flow, and they're going to open up even more because they want to make Hong Kong more a Chinese city. Would you agree with that?
Well, I think that's kind of a conspiracy. To me, a conspiracy theory.
Somebody mentioned that.
I think it's
not working.
It's history. Just not long ago that we opened up the so-called individual visitors program less than 10 years ago to enliven the economy, and then we have to take into account the fact that the Chinese society, China is changing. That they allow more people, say, freedom in certain areas like travel. They don't just go to Hong Kong. They go to many parts of the world.
They're going to Japan,
Taiwan,
the US, Taiwan
as well. So to me, it's just a natural process for a society that becomes richer and trying to embrace, say, closer with the other parts of the world. I think those kind of the issues that we are confronting now is more a question of, say, whether the rules are clear. For instance, whether the mainland mothers also are entitled to the same benefits or services that Hong Kong residents, permanent residents or non-permanent residents, are entitled to. And secondly, if the rules are clear, whether the rules are being implemented strictly. A lot of, I think, so-called animosity of Hong Kong people are about the rules, right? And about the unfair. The rules are becoming blurred, unclear, and then the administration, the government, seems to be, confused about
not what to do, right?
Not want to do anything.
For instance, making the rules clear. 35,000.
Think of the election of the district council,
right?
Which is now an expanding investigation
into vote rigging, right?
So the people are wondering, well, wait a minute, how what's going on and how fair is fair?
Exactly, but 35,000 mainland babies being born in Hong Kong every year.
Talk about contradictions
in
policy,
do you stop
Michael.
it?
Why would you want to? You have a policy on one hand in the government which is to say Hong Kong should be a center for medical tourism, and at the same time when you have people coming down here and want to have babies, you kick them out. Because you say, well, if the baby's born here, it has a citizenship issue. So you got to decide.
The government is not saying, the people are saying.
Look, any baby. Look, if somebody came here from Malaysia, the United States, Canada, Australia, and had a baby, would the kid have a right to be a local resident? And if you're going to have medical tourism,
under existing laws, the kid will have the right.
All right. So you're going to have medical tourism. Are you going to say medical tourism except for women who are pregnant?
So you're saying we should continue to have 35,000.
You got to have a policy that's clear and makes sense. If you just charge these women full fare and say, if you really want to come here because you trust the hospitals, And
But what about those who gate crash emergency
well,
rules?
that's an issue you have to deal with.
Chris,
But you can't always have things in life both ways.
Of course. Will Hong Kong, you can't have things in life both ways. Will Hong Kong people accept what Francis here is saying?
Well, I think Hong Kong people will feel it's a fair game, that there's a private services here, like shops, like any other services, that anyone, including the mainlanders,
But they will
of
then
course,
gain
can come
citizenship,
here.
and then they will be demanding homes and hospital care and school places and so on. Got to gear that as well.
Only if they come
Medical
back- only if they
tourism.
come back here to live.
They have a baby, they go back.
But a lot of these
Well,
people are buying.
that's the question in the basic law. That's the question in the basic law. The court of final appeal has made the decision, and if you're going to change it, well, you have to go to the process
Okay,
of
I'm going to have
amendment.
just got a couple more minutes. Francis, last word, and then you. 2012, we're entering the year of the dragon. What are the big issues ahead?
First is the transition of power to a new chief executive and what his team is likely to look like. I think that the team issue is an important one. I think governance itself will be a major issue, and I think looming out there has to be public health. I think all you need is another round of a norovirus or SARS or something along those lines, which cannot be ruled out, and you will have a stress test on the government. And as we've seen before. So I think if I'm going to look at something that would test that, and then on the economic side, of course, whether the problems in the euro market really spill over and come here.
30 seconds. What are the big issues of 2012?
Well, I think the political changes, in the sense that both the government and NETCO will undergo major changes.
Elections.
We're going to see, I think, a major revamp. A lot of the
Will life change? Will politics change?
Not really. I think the system, the structure remains the same, and the issue of universal suffrage will still be a lot of
course, yeah.
uncertainty.
I'm going to have to wrap it up. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Kong Hei Fa Chua. Have a good year of the dragon ahead. See you next week.